choose to go to the moon because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept.
From the surface of the moon to the factory floor, America's prosperity and power dominated much of the 20th century. But the world has changed.
The mystique of American power, I think, is gone.
The U.S. is no longer the sole power towering over the post-Cold War era.
It's not so much we're declining, other countries are coming up.
And the report card shows America's foundation is in peril. Most alarming, deficits are projected to average over $900 billion every year through 2020. And the nation's debt is the largest in history, $12 trillion and rising. That's more than $80,000 for every American worker. China is now the largest holder of U.S. debt. It's also the largest exporter, and within the next 5 to 7 years, it's expected to surpass the U.S. as the largest manufacturer in the world.
Our prosperity provides a foundation for our power.
The problem for America is that its greatness has always been rooted in its economic dominance.
We're in a real pickle.
James Baker was Treasury Secretary under Ronald Reagan and Secretary of State under George H.W. Bush.
We need to find the political will to live within our means and start reducing this tremendous debt that's out there.
That debt has forced the U.S. to keep borrowing from foreign countries.
Can the world's greatest power remain the world's greatest power and also be the world's greatest borrower?
Can it?
I don't think so.
Aaron David Miller served as an advisor to 6 secretaries of state and has witnessed the decline in American diplomatic power.
We can't morally preach anymore about the virtues of American-style capitalism when we can't fix our own dysfunctional, broken house.
And seemingly can't win 2 wars, Miller says, that have already cost over $1 trillion.
We can't fix these places, and yet we can't walk away from them. And for a great power, that's the worst place to be.
We must rebuild our strength here at home.
The solution is to accept many nations now have a seat at the table and can influence world outcomes.
It was easier long ago to say, well, you have a couple of big powers. Now you have a lot of powers.
James Fallows is a writer who just returned from living in China for 3 years.
China has a very, very long way to go before they have the dimensions of national power that the U.S. does, maybe never.
Is American power truly on the decline?
Not really. Things are changing. Other countries are getting relatively stronger. It doesn't necessarily mean that the U.S. will decline in a way that really matters.
Fallows believes the changing world order will be a catalyst for an American comeback.
China's not waiting to revamp its economy.
Much as fear of Soviet domination in the Sputnik era galvanized American education.
Well, I do not accept second place for the United States of America.
The fact that the U.S. success will eventually end doesn't mean it has to end now or 10 years from now or 100 years from now if we do the right things.
And what about that Chinese-owned debt?
If the U.S. dollar plummets in value, we suffer, but so do the Chinese, too. And so they watch...
Their debt is worth nothing,
yes,
then.
Exactly.
The reason China holds so much U.S. debt is because they know that debt's going to pay off.
Baker believes America's absolute power is still intact for now.
When I was Treasury Secretary, everybody was writing that Japan Inc. was going to take over the world. America was in permanent declines.
You think we're in the same situation now? People talking about America's decline, but...
No, I don't think it's going to happen, provided, one big proviso, that we deal with this debt bomb.
And if we don't?
Then it might happen.
The U.S. remains the most important single power in the world. But in just the time it took for you to watch this report, its national debt grew by nearly $18 million. Lara Logan, CBS News, Washington.